Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big League Dreaming, the podcast, a show about baseball, dreams, and family. I'm John Gonzalez, the dad. And on today's show, we've got two of the three. Actually, you know what? All three are going to be here on this weekend's show, which is all about the winter meetings, the trades, the recap of what went down this week in Dallas. Right, Zach? It was in Dallas this week?
Yes, at the Big Hilton Hotel there in Dallas. So excited to talk winter meetings.
That is Zach Gonzalez. He is the oldest of our three kids, and he is the Mariners fan based in Charlotte, North Carolina. You would think he'd be a fan of the Knights. He is a fan of the Knights. We'll talk more about the Knights at some point, which is a White Sox affiliate, but he's a little chilly down in the south because it's really chilly up here in the north. Speaking of the north, son number 2 is Ty Gonzalez. He's joining us from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Ty, how you doing over there, buddy?
I'm doing good. I think I'm a little bit colder than you, though, Zach. It's 5 degrees here.
Like, feels like 5? Or
No, it is 5.
no, you can keep the 5. I'll stick with the 30s, even though it's super cold for Carolina. I'll
That's
take
t-shirt
30
weather.
Not for me.
Well, we will talk to Ty quite a bit because he is the Mets fan, and a lot happening with the Mets here in the offseason, especially surrounding the winter meetings. Son number 3 is Zane Gonzalez. He's in the balmy area of South Bend, Indiana. We'll hear from him because he's the Red Sox fan, and a lot happening with the Red Sox this time of year. So, Zach, why don't you, as our baseball expert insider, because you keep track of all this stuff, give us the details of what happened at the winter meetings, and they're wrapped up now. I saw John Paul Morosi on the MLB Network kind of giving a summary of what was going on there. We hope to have him on the show. He's a Michigan native. Hopefully he'll be on at a future date. Give us a wrap-up of what the winter meetings are all about and what's going on right now with the status of everything.
Yeah, so just, I guess in a nutshell, the winter meetings it happens every December, middle of December, in a different southern city where it's nice and warm for the executives. It gets rotated around the country, places like Orlando. And it's just all of the MLB and minor league baseball executives are all under one roof in a hotel, and they have their annual meetings going over different rules and all the things that they need to talk to see everybody face to face all in one spot. And because all the executives are all in one spot, that's when a lot of trades happen, and there's a lot of free agents that will go down there and go to the different hotel rooms and meet with different teams. So there's a lot of free agent signings. They also have the classic baseball era Hall of Fame vote. A couple of guys for the Hall of Fame could get it added. They do the MLB draft lottery to see who are going to be like the top 15, 16 picks for the following year's summer draft. And then there's the Rule 5 draft. There's a major league portion, minor league portion of the Rule 5 draft. We can get into that if you'd like, Dad. But yeah, there's executives from every team are all represented there. Every manager is there. Every manager does a formal session, 20-minute session, just to speak about their team. MLB Network is there. All those guys that have the stage set up. So it's 3 days, Monday through Wednesday, every mid-December, talking baseball.
That's pretty awesome, and it's a fun time of year because us baseball fans that have a long winter ahead of us can talk a little bit baseball. But the baseball world's been upside down compared to last year. During last year's winter meetings, they were okay. There were no big signings. This year, I think I read somewhere like $1.3 billion spent during the winter league meetings on like quite a few players. Contracts were huge. Let's go to Ty right now because it's funny. Before we bring Ty on, it's funny because like all of our teams are in all these discussions, right? Zach's Mariners, Ty's Mets, Zane's Red Sox, my Tigers, no discussion whatsoever. We got Alex Cobb, whoa. Anyway, although you never know what happens there. But all your teams have been center points, focal points of this year's winter meetings. None bigger than the Mets. Ty, I mean, I know that you have some reservations about them pretty much just handing him a bank, but Juan Soto got a huge payoff, and it sounds like money. They were going to stop nowhere other than to get Juan Soto in a Mets uniform.
Yeah, you mentioned the $1.3 billion. I think 90% of that is Juan Soto. That crazy amount of money. I just don't know how I feel about it yet. I feel like I felt the same way with the Lindor deal, but this is like double that. It's pretty much double what Lindor got, which is insane to me because Lindor just finished second in the MVP voting, had a great year. Juan Soto finished third in the MVP voting. So I just don't see how. I know he's a big name and he's young and he's a great player, but I mean he had 270. I don't see how he's worth almost $1 billion for 15 years. It's just a crazy number. I think eventually we will see a $1 billion contract though in our lifetime.
Well, it could have happened with Juan Soto. I mean, it was teetering to that level of it. But yeah, I think it's just right around the corner, and that'll be a milestone in itself. Zach, any thoughts for you on the Juan Soto deal for the Mets?
Yeah, I was just shocked when I did, 765 divided by 15 and it said $51 million per year. I was like, that is a lot more than Otani. Like, what is going on? Is this right? So, yeah, I was just absolutely in shock.
Well, we won't get into the topic of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, small market versus big market team. You have the Yankees surprisingly not being able to get one of their big stars to sign there, and he goes over to the crosstown rival. At least it's in the National League for Yankees fans. But the Yankees, will be fine. They got money to spend too. Before we get to the Red Sox deal and Zane, let's talk about your Mariners. I thought they were going to be kind of quiet this year, but all of a sudden, Luis Castillo is in every discussion right now, coming out of the winter meetings as being possible trade material for the Mariners.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the Mariners just will not spend the money. Their owner will not invest in paying a guy like Alex Bregman or one of these big, free agent guys. They have to trade in order to get bats, to get the pieces that they need. So it's unfortunate. Right now, they're just listening about Castillo because they don't want to trade from the rotation. I don't know if he will be traded. I think it'll depend on where Roki Sasaki signs. He was posted the other day. He can sign between January 15th and January 23rd. He's the international guy out of Japan. He's only 23 years old, throws 100 miles an hour. Mariners are, I wouldn't say a favorite, but I'd say they're a top 3 team to land Roki Sasaki. Just because of the history that Seattle has with Japanese players. They have a strong pitch. They can tell him, we keep our pitchers healthy. Apparently he wants to go to a mid-market team instead of going straight to a New York or a LA out of the gate. So a lot of things are in Mariners' favor to get Sasaki. And if they sign Sasaki, then that enables you to trade Luis Castillo, clear that $22-23 million from their payroll for the next 2 years, and utilize that money to go out and bring in some offense and get some offense for trading Castillo.
Yeah, because the Mariners need a bat or 2 or 3. I mean, the offense it wasn't pitching. Pitching has kept that team in contention all year long, but it was the hitting that really lacked. It just lacked on all levels for the hitting wise. We won't talk about that for a long time. Let's go to Zane, because the Red Sox made an incredible trade. Zane, give us your thoughts from the Red Sox perspective.
All right, yes, the Red Sox finally made a move. I was hoping they were going to be announcing Juan Soto, but I guess Ty's Mets outbid everyone, which, you got Steve Cohen who's throwing money out there like crazy. It's going to happen. At least it was good to see the Red Sox were in the fight when it came to Juan Soto, but that's kind of been their story the last few off seasons. But this is their new GM, chief baseball operator, whatever you want to call him, Craig Breslow for the Red Sox. This is his first off season with the Red Sox, so it's everyone was really excited to see what he does and how he can make a splash. So, but big news was that the Red Sox traded for Garrett Crochet, left-handed pitcher, starting pitcher from the White Sox. So Garrett Crochet from the Chicago White Sox will be coming to the Red Sox. I'm excited about this. It's what the Red Sox need. They need pitching. They need frontline pitching. They gave up a lot. They gave up, some top prospects. Kyle Teal, who was a catcher from Virginia. I think number 25 overall prospect. Outfielder Braden Montgomery. People might remember him from the College World Series, he was the one that got hurt. I think it was his ankle and then couldn't play. He was in a walking boot for Texas A&M. So they drafted him this past year. He's it's in the 50s overall prospect in MLB. They also gave up Chase Mydroth, infielder, number 11 prospect in the Red Sox system, and also Wickelman Gonzalez, who number 14 prospect in the Red Sox system. And it's tough. A lot of people are saying like, oh man, just for prospects, but you got to understand the Red Sox have a top 5 farm system in all of MLB. So the White Sox are getting a pretty good deal for somebody that was going to be going into their last year before free agency. So it's going to be interesting to see if the Red Sox try to extend Crochet before next season even starts, because that's what the Red Sox need. So, I'm excited for the Red Sox to really, go out there and they're making noise. They're actually in conversations. Hopefully they can get some more deals done. I know there's been talks of them talking to the Mariners, looking for another starting pitcher. There's talks of them trying to get another big bat for their lineup. So yeah, as much as it stinks to have some of the big prospects leave the Red Sox organization, you'll take it for someone that's going to help you right now, and that's kind of the state that the Boston Red Sox are in. They're in a win now state. They haven't been in the playoffs in the last few years, and when it's Boston, you're expecting to be in those playoffs, especially now with the expanded playoffs. You're expecting to be in the conversation, and they just haven't been in the last couple of years. But they've bolstered their minor league system for moves like this. This is what it's set up for in the last couple of years. Now they can start making moves. Now they can start paying people to win now. So, very exciting trade. Very excited to see what else comes up in the next few months. So, it's exciting time for, off-season free agent talks. That's what makes baseball so unique, is that, the free agent market is so much longer. The time span is so much longer than, say NBA, NFL. A lot of those guys it happens within a day or so. So, MLB is so unique in that this drags out. You get so many different rumors, and, glad to see the Red Sox finally make a move, and excited to see what happens next.
They gave up 4 prospects for Crochet, and they were able to keep their top 3 prospects, like Zane mentioned. And Braden Montgomery, he's going to be legit for sure.
Yeah, you know these guys inside out. Keel's also a big name too, right?
Yep, the catcher out of Virginia. I think Braden Montgomery out of Texas A&M. Unfortunately, he hurt his ankle there going into the postseason so you didn't get to see him in that College World Series run with A&M, but he's back. He's 100%. He's gonna be fun to watch. I can't wait to see him. Hopefully he comes through Charlotte here so I can see him live in person, just like I got to see Crochet recently.
And Ty, the White Sox, I don't know what's going on with the White Sox. It's got to be a tough time to be a White Sox fan. When we were down there doing our big, 3 games in 24 hours a couple years ago, it's a fun ballpark. The crowd seems excited, but the play on the field is just, oh my gosh, what is going on in Chicago?
Yeah, it's too bad, honestly, because I feel like that was my first time being at that stadium in over a decade. And I feel like it's a lot nicer than what it used to be. Like everything around the stadium, it looked like a nice spot. So it's pretty sad that they're doing so bad. Someone that I work with has a family friend that has season tickets, and they said this was the first time in 30 years they didn't renew their season tickets. So that's pretty shocking.
It is pretty shocking. Let's go back to Zach. There's still a lot of big names out there that might be, by the time this podcast comes out, it could be over, right? But where is Burns going?
I'm not sure. There's a lot of teams that need starting pitching. There's a lot of teams, but there's only probably a handful of teams that can afford the contract that Corbin Burns is going to get. I'm not sure where he's going to actually go. I know obviously the Baltimore Orioles would love to bring him back, but there's just these contracts that these pitchers are getting, like Blake Snell to the Dodgers, Max Fried to the Yankees. It's going to be very expensive, but there's a lot of teams that need pitching, especially teams like the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Orioles. So I don't know where he's going to go.
And the Giants, which I'm hearing is in contention to get him. So we'll see what happens there. Ty, though, the other big news worth watching is the fact that Pete Alonso is still in play for the Mets. You think it automatically that Alonso's not a factor, with the big signing of Juan Soto, but for Alonso fans in New York, I mean, there's a possibility he stays, right?
Yeah, there's still a good chance. I was reading some stories this morning, articles that came out, and he's still in the talks. He's talking with a few other teams. I hope he stays. I really do. I hope they offer him money. Some of the stories I was reading was kind of interesting because they were saying it was his worst career year. He still hit over 30 home runs. He's still a great player, and he's clutch. I mean, you saw it in the postseason. He kept them alive in the postseason in a season where it felt like they weren't even going to be in question for the postseason. I mean, he came up clutch time and time again, him and Lindor. So I feel like you have to give him a deal.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, keep him in the mix because wherever he goes, he's going to automatically be someone that you can count on in those key situations. And veteran players who have a knack for hitting the big home run, which, granted, some of his numbers are dipping, but he's still hitting home runs. He's still a force in the middle of the lineup, and you want him especially when it comes playoff time. If you're knocking on the door in the playoffs, you want him in your lineup during that stretch. Zach, any other thing you're looking for, or any other recap from the winter meetings, or anything you're looking forward to hearing about here in the offseason?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing some trades happen. I mean, we always like to talk about the big free agent signings because we know those are going to happen. The guys that are out there, Jack Flaherty, Walker Buehler, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Alex Bregman, Christian Walker, Teoscar Hernandez, Tanner Scott, big reliever. Like, we know all those guys are going to get contracts and they're going to go somewhere. But I look forward to the trades because they're so unpredictable. Are the Blue Jays going to trade Vlad? Are they going to trade Bo Bichette because they only have 1 year left? Is Houston going to trade Kyle Tucker and Framber Valdez because they only have 1 year left? Are the Cubs going to trade Nico Horner, Cody Bellinger, Isaac Paredes? Like, all of those things, who are the prospects going to go in return for those guys? I know players want to get signed earlier so they know where they're going for free agency. So the signings will happen over the next couple months here, but the trades, I feel like those pop up at any time and you never know when it's going to happen. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, you know what else I'm looking forward to is, and I'm not trying to wrap this show up, but I'm looking forward to the next week's show. I mean, we have a fun interview. I think people are going to find really interesting. Don't you think, Zach?
Yeah, totally. Meeting people in baseball is so much fun, and you get to hear their backstory, and you get kind of look behind the curtain a little bit of like what it takes to be in the game of baseball. So yeah, it was an awesome conversation.
And we're talking about an interview with a JUCO coach from Mississippi, which, we haven't had, I don't think, anyone from Mississippi on the show. I love how he's going to talk about on next week's Big League Dreaming podcast. He'll talk about the baseball culture down there, and he's bounced around to some different parts of the country, but had to go back to Mississippi to coach down there. Ty, you must have had fun. I know all of us are big fans of the JUCO programs around the country. You must have had fun with that episode too.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that one to come out next week. He was so fun to listen to, and his story is just unbelievable. The journey. I kept talking about in our episode, the journey. It was really fun listening to hear that story of everything he overcame. So definitely look out for that next week.
All right, folks, that's it for Big League Dreaming, the podcast. We come out with new episodes every single Saturday morning. In fact, Ty will give us all the details in a second, but I just want to say, as the dad, it's so much fun to just spend some time with the boys here. It's a little different podcast than what you're used to. We're not giving you hot takes. We're not, talking to the coaches, but we are talking to the coaches that do have information about what's going on. So what I'm talking about is, like, we're not professional, guys that get to make a living off of it, but we are big fans. We consider our show just dad and his 3 sons sitting around the dining room table or in the living room watching a game in the background and just talking about the game they love. That's the whole concept of Big League Dreaming. All right, Ty, why don't you tell people where to get more information about our show and follow some of our previous episodes?
Yeah, you can listen to our show, Big League Dreaming, the podcast, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Of course, here on YouTube, Big League Dreaming the podcast. Give us a follow on social media at Big League Dreaming on TikTok, and also at BLD Pod. That's at BLD POD on X. We'd love to connect with you, and we'll see you on the next episode.
All right, see you guys. And Zach, warm up over there in chilly Charlotte for 30 degrees.
It's supposed to hit 60 today. It was just 30 this morning.
60. What would we do at 60 degrees, Ty?
Go to the beach.
Take care, everyone. See you later.